Welcome to your Daily 5 for Thursday, May 16th, 2024. I want to say it was 3, 4, 5 years ago that I remembered hearing Andy Last from over on Beyond Synth talking about the Beetlejuice cartoon that was on from 1989 to 1991. Now, of course, Beetlejuice the film is considered a comedy classic. Most people know that movie. If you grew up around that time, it was inescapable, and it remains extremely good today. I remember the cartoon being on, but I could not have told you anything about it. I just remembered that it was around, and I had no idea how successful it was. But I remembered, I don't know what returned that memory to me, I want to say 2 months ago, that I thought about the fact that Andy was talking about the Beetlejuice cartoon, and I started looking around to watch clips of it on YouTube and really couldn't find much of anything. I mean, I found some clips of it, but not any episodes in full. I really couldn't find much on it, but I watched some of it and I was fascinated with it because it seemed so unusual for cartoons of the time. And so I thought, okay, is this thing actually available? And I found out it was for relatively inexpensive. The whole entire series was available. And so I just went ahead and bought it. And I've been watching it. This thing had a really weird release schedule. So season 1 was 13 episodes, season 2 was 8, season 3 was 8, and then season 4 was 65 because it had become such a hit that apparently it was one of the first really syndicated shows where they did a bunch of episodes and it anchored, I think, Fox's animation block. All kinds of stuff I didn't know about this show and would never have remembered about it. But anyway, I think I've made it to the very end of season 3. I don't think I've finished. I think I have 2 episodes left. And I have to say, this show is something else. It's really, really interesting and fascinating. And I mean, the premise is a pretty heavy diversion from what the film was. In the show, the cartoon, Beetlejuice is Lydia's friend. Lydia is far younger. The Maitlands don't exist at all. The Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis characters do not exist. Lydia's parents still live in the same house. The house is basically the same in terms of what it looks like. They live in the same I mean, everything as far as the actual family living in the house is the same. But Beetlejuice's relationship with Lydia is completely different. He is not seen to most other living beings, or he's under a different pseudonym or a guise, even though he looks exactly like he does in the Netherworld, which is basically the land of the dead. And it's just he and Lydia having wacky hijinks, both in the real world and in the Neither world. And that's the premise of the show. But what makes it really, I mean, number one, the voice actor they got for Beetlejuice is excellent. He mimics the Michael Keaton way of speaking as Beetlejuice really, really well. I mean, expertly. The character designs are really interesting. The way Beetlejuice looks is so distinct because it's both similar to the film, but also very different, and it's hard to describe why, but there's this weird visual styling to him I really like. He's grosser somehow in his animated form in terms of his teeth than even Michael Keaton was in the live action. It's just such a bizarre cartoon, but also there's this very, very psychotic art style to it where it's very blown out and extreme and feels like it is even more of a heightened art style than the film was. It feels like, and Tim Burton was an executive producer, I believe, on the show, was involved in it. And you can almost feel that presence is pushing the artistic weirdness even further out. And it makes it really compelling. I've been having a great time with this show. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's definitely aimed younger, so the jokes are not necessarily, highbrow stuff. But the art style, the voice performances, just the way this show is structured. Because I've seen Beetlejuice so many times, I'm very familiar with it. So the places where the show goes in a different direction than the movie did are interesting. I think it's a really smart. I can see why it did so well. I mean, I'm shocked I don't remember this cartoon more clearly because I must not have seen a lot of it. If I had seen this show and really watched it, I would have been a diehard fan. I am now as an adult, and so I would say the only unfortunate part is it's very hard to see any of it if you do not buy the discs. But the whole thing is I think I got it for $24, all 4 seasons on DVD. I don't think there's any high definition version of this, so it's a DVD copy. But still, it looks really good for what it is, and it is a really fascinating and, like I said, very watchable variation of, certainly in my case, a movie I know really well. So I don't know if anybody even remembers this show being on. I'd forgotten all about it until Andy had mentioned it. But if you've never seen it or don't remember it, go back and check it out. You might find that it's a lot better than you remember. And if it is, the good news is you can buy it like I did. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. Later.